Do you find yourself struggling with terrible wrist and thumb pain every time you go to pick up your baby? Have you tried ice and heat and stretching and it isn't really helping for very long? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix your mommy thumb so that you'll be able to get back to caring for your little one more comfortably. So gently hit that like button and stay tuned. Hello, I'm Dr. Sandy Baird. Welcome to another video. If you're new here and you want to learn how to move better, how to get out of pain, and how to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle, start now by subscribing to the channel and click that bell notification icon so you don't miss a single video. So you're spending hours with your baby, but you're starting to dread picking them up again because you know you're going to feel that excruciating pain through your thumb. What you probably have is called mommy thumb. The technical name for it is de Quervain's Tenosynovitis. And in the most recent diagnosis manual, it's actually de Quervain's Tenosynovitis, but since nobody wants to say that more than one time in any conversation, it's taken on the somewhat patriarchal and not very gender-inclusive name of mommy thumb. But it can happen to anyone who picks up or feeds a baby a lot. And it does tend to happen more in people who have carried the baby and given birth to the baby, since pregnancy hormones like relaxin do affect tissue laxity. But you don't have to suffer. As painful as mommy thumb is, there are some really good treatments for it, including home care. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 of the exercises that you need to do to release the tension in the muscles causing your pain, and then 5 of the exercises that you need to do to strengthen and stretch those muscles as well. I'll also talk about a quick test that you can do at home to self-diagnose to find out if you do have mommy thumb. And ergonomic changes are important as well. I've actually filmed a whole other video about how to properly pick up and support the weight of your baby, and so I'll link that up on the screen as well as down in the description box. And also, since thumb splinting is an important part of recovering from mommy thumb, I'll link an appropriate brace down in the description box as well. Finally, I'll talk about some of the professional treatments that are available if things have progressed past the stage where you're able to deal with it at home. Okay, so let's dig in. So the Finkelstein test is one of the main tests that we use to find out if someone does have inflammation at the tendinous sheath through here. So you're going to put your hand out in front of you, make a fist, and then tuck your thumb into the fist, and then you're going to point your fist down. And if you feel a really burning, aching, sharp pain right through the top of your thumb here, you likely have mommy thumb. And before we get into the exercises that are going to help with mommy thumb, we should talk about why it builds up in the first place. So you may remember from anatomy class that tendon is just something that connects muscle to bone. And so the tendons, or specifically the tendinous sheaths through here, are where you feel the problem, but it's actually being caused by overuse of the forearm muscles, specifically the extensor group, and then the brachioradialis here. And you may even notice that when you palpate some of the tissues through here, they may feel very tender or tight. And that's because we've entered the cumulative injury cycle. Once we've entered the cycle, it keeps going on and on and on until we break it. So your job is to catch things early before they enter the cycle, or at least before they get too far into the swirly vortex of the injury cycle. So now I'm going to show you the 5 myofascial release exercises that you're going to need to do to address the soft tissues of your forearm. I'm going to jump to voiceover in a moment to clearly illustrate the exercises, but what you're going to need in terms of equipment is one ball, so either a lacrosse ball or something that's called the yoga tune-up ball or similar, and I'll link down in the description box the balls that I use in case you need to grab a ball. You're also going to need a desk or a hard surface. Go ahead and place the ball on top of a chair or a desk, and then place your forearm with your palm facing up on top of the ball. From there, you're going to roll until you find a tight spot throughout the musculature there. Once you find the spot that feels the tightest, you can hang out there and take a few deep breaths, or you can use your opposite hand to put a little bit more pressure on top of the ball. And then a bonus technique is to go through a little bit of wrist motion. So you're just pinning the tissue down with the ball and then moving your wrist through flexion and extension. You want to spend about 30 to 60 seconds on each tight spot that you find. And then we're going to flip it here, so we're doing the medial surface, the flexor group of the arm. So you can do this with the ball on top of the chair. And you can also put it along the side of the chair if you feel like you need to kind of get a little bit more pressure, like I'm showing you here. Again, find the tightest spots and then hold those for about 30 to 60 seconds. Moving through this brief range of motion will help you find where the brachioradialis muscle is. And then from there, all you need to do is take that over to a wall or the edge of your desk or any other hard surface. and then you're going to roll until you find a tight spot. Hold it for 30 to 60 seconds. I'm using the yoga block here as an example of what it looks like up close when you're up against the wall or up against the edge of your desk. So you're holding any tight spot, and you can move through this range of motion if that feels helpful to you. The next two exercises aren't for your forearms specifically, but they are for the muscles that get tight higher up in the kinetic chain that contribute to your tightness here. And so there's some other stretches and self-myofascial release exercises that you should be doing, and I've actually filmed those in another video about neck pain with breastfeeding. And so if you'd like to check that video out, I'll link it up on the screen and also down in the description box. The upper trap muscle commonly gets really tight when we're lifting babies, caring for babies, things like that. So what you need to do for this one is to slide a ball underneath that upper trap. And then you can put your hips on the ground if you like. If you want more pressure, you're going to want to lift your hips up. And putting a yoga block underneath your hips is a nice way to be able to relax your hips once you're there. And then when you're in this position, you can also play around with adding a little bit of arm motion, or you can just find stillness if you found like you've already gotten onto one really good tight spot. To find the rotator cuff, you're going to want to start the ball right where your arm meets your torso, right in that side seam of your shirt. Bring that up against a wall, or you can go to the floor if you'd like a little bit more pressure. And then from there, you can add a little bit of arm motion, kind of tacking down the tissue once you've found that tight spot. Now, if you get in there and you find a spot and it's just burning and it's a lot of pressure, you want to back your pressure off a little bit and then take a few deep breaths and relax into that pressure. But if you found a nice spot that feels like it needs a little bit more challenge, that's when you can start to add in some of this arm motion. You can also spin your body a little bit back and forth, so the ball is going to be running along the fibers of the rotator cuff muscle. You're going to want to put a yoga block between the ball and the wall. I'm showing you here where along the pecs you're going to want to look for any tight spots. Okay, so all that is fair game. So take that to the wall, and then place the ball right in the center of your pec, right in the middle of your chest. And from there, you're going to use your legs to push you into the wall with only as much pressure as feels tolerable to you. And you're going to be looking for any tight spots in there. And once you find a tight spot, you can start to add a little bit of optional arm motion if that feels good. And it's totally optional. You're always welcome to just hang out on that spot and take a few nice deep breaths. And you can also bring your arm behind your back and then open it out a few times just to kind of floss through a little bit of that range of motion. And now I'm going to show you the 5 best exercises for stretching and strengthening your wrist and thumb muscles. To find a stretch for the flexor group, you're going to start with your arm out in front of you with your palm up. And you're going to bend your fingers back and push your elbow away from you. See if you can take a few deep breaths into the stretch. That's where you should feel it, right through there. Next, we're going to stretch the extensor group, which is the opposite side of the forearm as the flexor group. So you're going to take your thumb and pull your wrist away before you go into the stretch. If you skip this step, you're going to feel like things are pretty jammed up, and it might even create some wrist pain. That's where you want to feel the stretch right there. And again, this is where your thumb is. Pull in your your hand away from your wrist before you go into the full stretch. After you do that, let's do a little bit of rolling it out through the wrists just to finish up. Tightness through the pecs can affect what's happening down in the wrist and the thumb. So to stretch your chest, you want to be in this position, facing a wall. If you feel like you're overarching here, you're not going to get the best stretch. So really tuck that rib cage down and in, and then go back into it. Let's stretch our upper trap by bending our head away from our shoulder and reaching for the floor. If you want to add a little bit of overpressure to increase the stretch, you can. Just make sure you're not crunching down through your neck. Try to grow nice and long and tall, and then go back into the stretch. To build strength in the extensor muscle group, which is going to help protect your wrist and your thumb from strain, you're going to want to grab a light hand weight and position yourself as shown. And you'll see that I'm using my opposite hand to lift the weight up, and all the work is being done on the lowering phase. So it's a nice, slow lower to work in the eccentric range. So I've showed you some great techniques that you can use to get rid of your mommy thumb. But what if it's gone into that injury cycle so far along that it's actually built up adhesion or worse yet, that one of the joints has actually been affected by adhesion and isn't moving properly. Well, it's kind of like you can brush and floss your teeth at home, but if you have a cavity, you got to go to the dentist. You can change your oil at home, but if the transmission is out, you're probably going to go to a mechanic. And same thing at home, you can build up all this tightness and you can address the tightness, but once it develops into adhesion, you have to go see a sports chiropractor. So I offer those services in Oakland, California, and what I do is I find the different structures that are contributing to the pain, and then we work on addressing those structures with manual therapy, and then we adjust as needed. If you are local to the Oakland Bay area, I would invite you to get in touch with me through my email address below, and I offer a free consultation to evaluate your mommy thumb and get you back to more comfortably picking up your baby. So what do you think? Which one of those steps are you going to try first to take care of your mommy thumb? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please give it a like. Also share it with a friend who may be having a similar issue with holding and picking up their baby. And then if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you can do that right over here. And I have some other videos right over here that you might be interested in as well. All right, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.